If you think your favorite Mexican chain is serving you authentic food made with care, you might want to put down that burrito and pick up some antacids. Because what's really inside that crunchy shell might be crunchier than you bargained for, and we're not talking about the lettuce. From coast to coast, millions of people trust these restaurants to deliver quick, affordable, and reasonably fresh Mexican food. But behind the colorful menus and sizzling marketing campaigns lies a trail of health violations, contaminated ingredients, and kitchen practices that would make your abuela weep into her homemade salsa. We are about to expose 5 major chains that have turned tacos into a gamble and burritos into biological warfare. Some of these restaurants have been linked to massive foodborne illness outbreaks. Others have health inspectors finding things in the kitchen that should never be near food, let alone inside it. And one of them screams so loud when you walk in, you might miss the fact that they are hiding rodent droppings near the rice. You have probably eaten at least one of these places in the last month. Maybe you are planning to go there this weekend. Maybe you are convinced your go-to spot is the exception, the clean one, the safe one. But the evidence tells a different story, and once you hear it, that convenient drive-through might start feeling a lot less appealing. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know which of these chains you have eaten at recently. Are you Team Taco Bell, Chipotle, or one of the others we are about to roast? And if this video saves you from a bad meal, or worse, hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep serving up the truth, not the food poisoning. Let us start with the chain everyone loves to joke about, but keeps going back to anyway. Let us start with the obvious one, the place that has fed more drunk college students than any campus cafeteria. Taco Bell, the late-night savior, the dollar menu legend, the kingdom of Doritos Locos, and regret. But those late-night cravings might come with a side of regret that lasts way longer than the buzz. Former employees have pulled back the curtain on what really goes into that crunchy taco, and it is not pretty. That seasoned beef you are eating? Only 88% actual beef. The rest is a cocktail of fillers like oats, soy lecithin, anti-caking agents, and silicon dioxide. You know, the same stuff used in sand and glass. You might think it tastes okay, but you are basically eating beef mixed with a science fair project. One taste tester described the meat as wet, gritty, and weirdly sweet. That is not seasoning. That is chemistry. And those beans? They start as a bag of brown powder dumped into a tub of hot water. Stir until mushy. Serve. These are not slow-cooked, lovingly seasoned beans from Grandma's kitchen. These are rehydrated bean particles brought back to life with boiling water. One commenter said, "I thought I was eating fiber. Turns out it was bean soup-flavored cement." Temperature violations are shockingly common, especially during late-night hours when fewer staff members are on duty. One former employee claimed that during rush hours, it was normal to skip temperature checks completely just to keep the line moving. That means the meat and cheese you were eating could have been sitting out longer than your Netflix queue. And let us not forget the ice machines. Multiple food safety reviews have found mold buildup, black slime, and even bugs inside soda fountains and ice bins. One inspector noted that the Taco Bell ice machine was dirtier than the bathroom sink. Think about that the next time you sip a Baja Blast. Even the food presentation is laughable. A customer once posted a photo of their taco that had 2 teaspoons of filling and looked like it had already been stepped on. The comments did not hold back. One person said, "That taco looks like it regrets being born." Another just wrote, "Bro, blink twice if you are okay." But humor aside, the low quality and loose food handling practices create serious food safety risks. Taco Bell's value menu keeps people coming back, but when food costs that little, corners are being cut everywhere, including the ones that keep you safe, satisfied, and salmonella-free. And if you think Taco Bell is bad, wait until you hear about the chain that convinced America it was healthy. Now let us talk about the chain that convinced America fast food could be healthy, fresh, and ethical. Chipotle, the darling of the fast casual world, the place where you can watch them assemble your bowl and feel good about your choices. Except, there is one tiny problem. Chipotle has given more people food poisoning than any other fast casual restaurant in the last decade. Norovirus, Salmonella, E. coli. Chipotle has served them all like a buffet of bad decisions. In 2015 alone, outbreaks linked to Chipotle sickened hundreds of customers across multiple states. In 2018, nearly 700 people got sick after eating contaminated lettuce at various locations. That is not a food chain, that is a public health crisis with guacamole. The issue comes down to two things: rushed prep and risky sourcing. Chipotle insists on prepping fresh daily, which sounds great in theory, but it often means undertrained employees rushing through chopping, marinating, and cooking under strict time pressure. One former worker said they once cut chicken while still wearing gloves covered in guacamole. Another said rice was sometimes left in warming trays for hours, crusting up on top while the bottom stayed mushy and lukewarm. That is not a texture blend, that is a bacterial breeding ground. Let us talk about the guacamole. It is made fresh, yes, but in such massive batches that one misstep, like not cleaning the prep bowls properly, can spread contamination fast. And, speaking of bowls, there is a reason why you often see greasy fingerprints or bits of dried rice stuck to the rim. Workers are pushed to move fast, not necessarily clean. When the lunch rush hits, quality control drops faster than your blood sugar waiting in line. One of the biggest health risks is the lettuce. Chipotle uses raw, unbagged romaine, and while that might sound better than pre-chopped greens, it also comes with higher risk. When improperly washed or stored, it can carry bacteria that no vinaigrette can hide. A side salad should not come with a side of regrets. Temperature logs are another issue. Chipotle requires that meats be kept above 140 degrees or below 40 degrees when not cooking. But in multiple lawsuits and employee reports, former workers claimed that temperatures were often recorded inaccurately or skipped entirely when stores were understaffed. That barbacoa bowl might be spicy for more than one reason. Even the menu can be misleading. Many customers believe Chipotle is a healthy alternative to fast food, but a typical burrito with all the fixings can easily reach over 2,000 calories and more sodium than you should eat in a full day. You are not eating clean, you are eating clean marketing. And yet, Chipotle's brand remains strong, likely because of slick advertising and the illusion of freshness. But fresh does not mean safe, and fast does not mean carefully handled. If the big names have you worried, the forgotten chains might terrify you. You might not think about Del Taco as often as the big names, and that is exactly how they like it. Because while everyone is busy watching Taco Bell and Chipotle, Del Taco has been quietly racking up violations that would make a health inspector cry into their clipboard. Inspection reports from multiple Del Taco locations paint a disturbing picture. Raw meat stored directly above ready-to-eat ingredients. Temperature logs falsified or skipped entirely. Prep surfaces wiped down with the same towel used to clean the floor. One inspector in California found chicken stored at 63 degrees, a full 23 degrees warmer than the safe zone. That is not food storage. That is a bacteria incubator with a drive-through window. Former employees have shared stories that make Taco Bell look gourmet. One worker claimed the fry oil at their location was not changed for over a week, turning dark brown and leaving everything with a bitter, burnt aftertaste. Another revealed that fish and beef were cooked in the same oil, creating a flavor mashup that nobody ordered and nobody wanted. Imagine biting into a taco and tasting last Tuesday's fish stick. That is not fusion cuisine, that is a mistake with a wrapper. The beef itself is watery and oddly loose, more like taco-flavored soup than seasoned meat. Shells often arrive stale and sit in bins for hours before being served. One customer described their crunchy taco as tasting like cardboard that had given up on life. The lettuce is wilted, the cheese is pre-shredded and left out too long, and the sour cream has been seen sitting unrefrigerated during prep rushes. A viral photo from a Nevada location showed a Del Taco employee wearing the same gloves while handling raw meat, touching the register, and then assembling a burrito. No glove change, no hand wash. Just pure, unfiltered cross-contamination. The comments ranged from horrified to disgusted, with one person writing, "I just watched someone get hepatitis in real time." Del Taco markets itself as having better ingredients than Taco Bell, but the inspection records tell a different story. Cheaper prices mean even cheaper practices. Management pressure to keep costs low leads to expired ingredients being relabeled, cleaning schedules being ignored, and staff cutting every possible corner. One former manager admitted they were told to make food last as long as possible, even if that meant bending the rules on expiration dates. The real problem with Del Taco is not just what they serve, it is what they hide. Flying under the radar means less scrutiny, fewer viral scandals, and customers who assume silence equals safety. It does not. And, speaking of flying under the radar, the next chain has been copying someone else's homework while somehow making even more mistakes. Qdoba wants you to think they are the better alternative to Chipotle, the underdog with more options and better value. But when you are copying someone's homework and they already failed the test, you are not exactly setting yourself up for success. Qdoba suffers from all the same problems as Chipotle: rushed prep, cross-contamination, undertrained staff, but with even less corporate oversight and accountability. Former employees have reported that understaffing is worse at Qdoba, training is shorter, and turnover is so high that some locations are essentially run by people who learned the job last week. One worker described their first day as being handed an apron and told to figure it out. That is not onboarding, that is abandonment with a name tag. Let us talk about the queso, the menu item Qdoba loves to market as their signature advantage over Chipotle. Turns out, that creamy, cheesy goodness starts as a powder. A former cook posted a video showing the process. Dump yellow powder into a pot, add water, stir until it looks like melted cheese. It is not real cheese, it is cheese-flavored product engineered in a lab and rehydrated on a stovetop. One customer said it tasted like someone described cheese to an alien, and the alien did its best. Temperature control is another disaster. Proteins sit in warming trays that are rarely checked. Sour cream is left out during rushes, and shredded cheese sits uncovered on the assembly line for hours. One health inspector found chicken held at 92 degrees, nearly 30 degrees below the safe minimum. That is not warm, that is room temperature with ambition. And room temperature chicken is how you end up Googling food poisoning symptoms at 3 in the morning. The assembly line design means cross-contamination is almost guaranteed. Employees use the same utensils to scoop multiple ingredients, and during busy periods, they rarely swap them out. One former worker admitted they would use the same spoon for beans, rice, and meat without rinsing because there was no time. So if you ordered vegetarian, there is a decent chance you got a side of beef juice anyway. Customer reviews are filled with complaints about food poisoning, stomach cramps, and suspicious tastes. One person described their burrito as tasting like cleaning solution mixed with regret. Another said their queso had a chemical aftertaste that lingered for hours. These are not isolated incidents. These are patterns. Portion sizes vary wildly depending on location and who is working the line. Some employees are generous, others skimp so hard your bowl looks like a sad salad with commitment issues. The inconsistency is not just annoying, it is a sign of poor training and weak standards across the board. Qdoba offers free guacamole and queso to distract from the fact that the food quality is questionable at best and dangerous at worst. But free toppings do not fix contaminated chicken or powder cheese. And if you think loud music and flashy branding can cover up health violations, wait until you hear what the next chain is hiding. Ever wonder why Moe's employees scream, "Welcome to Moe's," the second you walk in? Maybe it is to distract you from what is actually happening behind that counter. Because if you could hear what the health inspectors are saying, you might turn right back around. Moe's Southwest Grill has built its brand on loud energy, fun names, and vibrant decor. But that cheerful atmosphere is masking some seriously filthy secrets. Health inspection records from multiple Moe's locations show a recurring nightmare: pest activity. We are talking rodent droppings found near rice warmers, flies buzzing around the salsa bar, and in one shocking case, insect fragments discovered in food prep areas. That is not seasoning, that is an infestation with a side of queso. The salsa bar is a particular disaster. Self-serve stations sound convenient, but they are rarely monitored properly. Customers double dip, kids stick their hands in the bowls, and the sneeze guards are often too high or too far away to actually protect anything. One former employee said they watched someone drop a chip into the salsa, fish it out with their fingers, and keep going. And the staff did not change out the contaminated batch because it had just been refilled. That fresh pico de gallo might have more DNA samples than a crime scene. Former workers have reported being told to prioritize speed over cleanliness. One employee claimed they were instructed to use the same towel to wipe down counters, cutting boards, and even the drink station. Sanitizer buckets were not changed regularly, and some shifts would go hours without anyone checking if surfaces were actually clean. The same rag that wiped up spilled meat juice might be the one that just cleaned your burrito bowl rim. Let us talk about those famous chips. Moe's markets them as fresh and made daily, but multiple employees have confessed that stale chips are often mixed back in with fresh batches to avoid waste. The result is a basket where half the chips are crispy and the other half taste like they have been sitting in a paper bag since last Tuesday. One customer said their chips tasted like cardboard soaked in regret. Proteins are pre-cooked and reheated multiple times throughout the day. Leftover chicken from lunch gets tossed back into the warmer for dinner. Steak sits under heat lamps until it turns gray and rubbery. One worker admitted that if meat did not sell by closing time, it would be refrigerated and reheated again the next day. That is not meal prep. That is a science experiment testing how many times you can resurrect dead chicken. The free chips and queso are a brilliant distraction. They create the illusion of value and generosity while the actual food quality nosedives. You are so focused on the extras that you do not notice the wilted lettuce, the watery salsa, or the fact that your burrito tastes faintly like disinfectant. So, what does all of this mean for you? So there you have it. 5 Mexican chains that are seasoning your meal with more than just cilantro and lime. From rehydrated beans and mystery meat to rodent droppings and outbreak track records, these restaurants have proven that bright colors and catchy slogans cannot hide dirty kitchens and dangerous practices. The common thread? Speed over safety, marketing over quality, profit margins over your health. Not every location is a disaster, but when systemic problems show up in inspection reports, employee confessions, and customer complaints across multiple states, it stops being bad luck and starts being a pattern you should not ignore. Remember what we said at the start. What is really inside that crunchy shell might be crunchier than you bargained for. Now you know it is not just the lettuce. It is the bacteria, the fillers, the pests, and the shortcuts that put your trust and your stomach at risk. Eating out should be a treat, not a gamble with your digestive system. If this video gave you something to chew on besides questionable queso, smash that like button and subscribe so we can keep exposing what these chains do not want you to know. Drop a comment and tell us which restaurant shocked you the most, or if you have ever had a nightmare experience at one of these places. And share this with someone who still thinks their go-to taco spot is safe. Because the truth is not always on the menu, but we will keep serving it up anyway. Stay skeptical, stay safe, and maybe cook at home tonight.